Check 1, 2. Hey everybody, this is Bo with another guitar lesson. I haven't done one forever, but man, it's been such a great little holiday time. I thought, man, I'll sit down and do a 16th lesson for beginners. Because we ended on a C major, just working with that pattern of just doing this. And you can see right there, I got that new screen. So dual camera, so you guys could see my hands up close. But anyway, we were working here on the 8th fret on this C, just working on C major. And what I want to teach you, just piggybacking on that number 15 lesson for beginners, is this. Is that what we can do is now look at the triads within the scale. And this is kind of neat. And it kind of moves you into some of the more advanced teaching that I did on just shredding lessons, like just playing faster and playing scales quick and how to kind of practice that stuff. But like what we can do is work with these triads, and as we've mentioned before, as I've mentioned in these videos, that your chords are made up of these triads. So when you're in C major, for instance, when you're there, and that's on the 8th fret, that's the bar, and you got this scale going. Now we're going to break it up into triads. So we're going to start on the C, and we're going to do C, E, G, and we're just going to do the triad. See how that works? And then we're going to go to the next one. Now, what's interesting is when you do the triads, let me just adjust here. When you do the triads, it's going to tell you like what chords are going to work in C major. So like if all you knew was the C major, or like, you know, that's what you knew is the major. It could be an A major, it could be G major. I'm just using C major as my example here. But if you just take the C major, and that's all you really knew, well, and you knew the scale, then we're going to take the 1, 3, 5 like we did. 1, the C, E, G, and you get this little cool little pattern going. And you can move that all over the neck. Band like Rush. Very, what is it, YYZ kind of has something like that in there, one of their songs. But now let's take the next note in the scale, which is this one, and let's now do 1, 3, 5 of that note. So we started the C major scale, that's what we're in. Now we're doing a triad based off of the second note of that C major scale. So we did one already off this one, off the first. So now let's do one off this D here. So D, F, A. This is going to look like this. 1, there's your 3rd, and there's your 5th. It's like an old Kansas or Boston thing, but you hear that triad, D, F, A. The first one was, second one. Now we're going to go to the third one. Now before we do though, I just want you to notice that D, F, A, the way the pattern looks, how many spaces you are in between frets and stuff like that. That's always really good because there's this thing called intervals in music, and it's really how much distance there is between point A, if you will, and point B. And so you have different intervals. So from this point to the second is this spacing, if you will, then another spacing, and then so if this is one, that's a space, that's a space, that's a space, all different intervals. But when you look at your hand patterns, you can kind of tell over time, when you know your guitar really well, you kind of know if you're in major or minor just by, and kind of what intervals you're playing too, what spaces you are from the root note, that C major, just by looking at your hands, because you get so familiar with these patterns. Because that's what the guitar or piano and playing instruments are, is they're a lot of pattern-oriented thing. So if I'm playing, I can tell just by looking at how my hands are playing. If I'm in major or minor, I really don't even have to hear it. I could just know just by the way my hands are laid out. And that might be like, whoa, but just look at this. So we're in D, F, A of the C, and we have the spacing. So this is, does that sound major or minor? It's actually a minor. This is a minor triad. The first one was a major, C major. And then we take the second part of the scale, which is the D, and we play the 1, 3, 5 of that within the key signature of C major. And we got D, F, A. See how that works? That second camera really helps, gives it a close-up. And then let's go to the next one. So that next one, this one we're playing right here, is a what? E, G, B. Because the E is the third of that C major scale. And then we're taking that E, we're using that E, and we're going E, F, G, that's the third, A, B, B's the fifth. So it's E, G, B. Kind of a cool sound, but it's just this note, it's this note, and it's this note. And so that's minor too. So you have your C major. The next chord would be a D minor. The next one would be an E minor, because you worked out the triad, E, G, B, and that's minor. And then let's go to the next one. So now we got this F, F, A, C. That looks a lot like this one that we did, right? The C. But now we're doing the F, F, A, C. And so if this one was major with this pattern, then obviously the F is going to be major too, same pattern. So within the C major scale, we're doing the triad, building a triad off of the F, F, A, C, and within that C major key signature, and when we're looking at that scale, the C major scale, that we see that the F, when we start on the F, we go to the A, we go to the C, we got this, and then we just keep, and then so we know that's major, so we know that if we're playing a song in C major, we know that if we're playing an F, F is going to be major too. We know that if we want to go to we're in the key of C again. If you want to go to a D, you know that's going to be minor, because remember our triad was minor? So check this out. We can go to the E, because we know that's minor. Go back to the F. We know that's major. Back to the root. See, when you know these triads, then you know what chords to use, because the chords are just the same notes that are in the triad. Those 3 notes. That's it. Unless you're doing a 7th note, what's called a 7th or a 9th or an 11th or one of these alternative kind of chords, then it's just you're just working with that triad, and that's what these chords are. Is they're all built off the 1, 3, 5. So if we continue in C major and we go to after F we go to G, our G triad's going to look like this. Now how do I know that? Because I know the C major scale. So that's the whole scale is here this. That's it. And then everything repeats itself. So now we're doing the G, and it's G, B, D. So that kind of is a familiar look, a little bit. And then, so we know that one. We know that our G chord in the key of C is going to have this this note, and this note, the 1, 3, 5 in it. So that's going to be a minor. Or so if we keep moving up the neck here, we're in E, F, G. Or I was going to play it down there just a little easier, because up here you're losing finger space. But there's the minor. Okay, so then we go to the next one, which is A, and it would be A, C, E, and then the last one would be B. So it would be B, D, F. Let's see. Again, I'm just taking that scale that we did on the last one, and I'm taking just the triads. So this is what you're coming up with, by the way. Isn't that cool? That's kind of a cool sound. And what you do is just work on those triads, and you can now do hammer-on and pull-offs, and this is something you might be learning too as a beginner. Is hammer-ons are just, of course, when you hit a note and hammer on, and a pull-off is just when you hit a note and pull off to the back one. And you want to do practicing like that. You just want to Because what happens is when you get these triads going, I just hit it once and hammer on. You don't have to hit every note. I mean, nothing's wrong with hitting every note, and it's probably good for you to practice that too. But if you want to work on your hammer-ons, do that too. And then you hit this next one. There's a hammer-on right there. Hammer-on. Hammer-on. That uses 3 strings. Hammer-on. Hammer-on. So these are great because, you know, a lot of times, usually when you're doing arpeggios, you're doing that. You're hammering on. That's what I'm doing. Hammering on and pulling off. Hammering on. You can see my hand hammering on and pulling off. I'm not striking every note there. So that's how you can practice that C major, and it serves a purpose in that when you do the triads of all the notes, remember there's only 7 notes and then it repeats itself. So after you go through that lesson of just doing the triads of each of those 7 notes, then you certainly know all the chords in that key signature. So that's how you kind of know what chords are going to work with your key. So if you didn't know just off the top of your head and you go, oh, I'm in B, you know, well, B major, you know, I know I'm in B major. So I know the B major scale. So all you have to do is just run through the B major scale. You know, you can write down all the notes of it if you wanted to, like all the triads, so B, F, A, you know, that kind of thing. And remember, there's going to be sharps and flats depending on what key you're in, of course. We're doing it in C major, so that means there's no sharps and flats. And so you just learn those triads, and then you go, oh man, I want to play a chord, you know, another chord in B major. Well, then you just look at your triads and you go, oh, okay, I'm going to play this triad, and that is going to be a chord, the triad, because that's what a triad is. It's the chord. It's 3 notes, the first, the third, and the fifth, and then you're going to be able to go, oh, cool. So that's how it works. So if you're in C and you're playing a song in C major, again, you go, hey, well, where do I play next? Well, go through your triads. That was the next one. So you can play a song like that. I mean, some songs are just that. It's just different rhythms. But you see how that works. And, you know, your right hand, of course, is your rhythm hand, man. It's the thing that's getting it all going. And that's why right hand lessons are always good too, to work on that right hand. Now, does this work in minor? Yes, it does. So same mindset when you're in minor. So if we were to do no sharps and flats, we just went to A minor and we just played an A minor on the 5th fret. And we played an A minor scale. So you have to know the A minor scale. So let's make sure you got that well. So just make sure you got it with me. Next string. Next string. next string, next string, next string. There you go. So this one, if you did the triads, it would be what I did is so I just am taking those notes off that A minor. And now I'm gonna just take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there's 7 and then there's an octave. And I'm gonna take each one and I'm gonna do the first, the third, and fifth off of that one that I'm playing. So that's how it works. So I know I'm in A minor. I know the next one is that's a weird one. Kind of a weird chord. You guys, but see how I'm just making the chord based off of the triad. Then the next one. Right? Looks like this. Or major. So we have this minor, A minor. We have this really cool chord. Major. And I like that. Isn't that cool? So you can feel how different it is when you're in a different key signature. If you're in major or minor, how the song's going to sound a little different. So then we go to the next one. So that is a D minor. So I think you get the hang of maybe this, and all I'm doing is taking the 1, 3, 5, and then that is my chord, because that is the chord that fits that key that you're in. Now there's technicalities to this. There's so much more you can get into, but just to get the basics down, that's the basics. And you know, it's neat, but if you ever learn a scale, all kinds of scales, you know, if you're working with, you know, your modal scales, what we call mode scales, but really cool. I love that. That's such a neat one. It's got a neat sound, but you just take the 1, 3, 5s of each of the scales you're playing. I mean, the 1, 3, 5s. And then you build, and then you know your chords, because you know those chords are going to fit that key that you're in. You know, the root that you're playing. So if you learn a scale, just break it down, just 1, 3, 5 it, you know, of each starting place of that scale, you know, the first all the way through the 7th, and then the 8th repeats, of course, and then you'll have your chords. So that's how that will work. So this is getting into more understanding theory, of course, how chords work with scales and how that all kind of comes together, but also how you have to build on your own too. So your ear knows these things. When you have a good ear, not everybody, but when you do have an ear for music, you tend to naturally just hear something and you go, whoa, that sounds right. And that's what people say, oh, that sounds right. But the great thing about learning your 135s is that you start hearing stuff that you start finding out things and ways to play that maybe you haven't heard much of. You've heard it before in a song because everything's been done practically, but you go, oh man, I can now see how it is, how it works, like where they got it from, and you can implement some of that into your own playing as well. Because all we're doing in music is we're all rehashing the same stuff. We're just our brains are just working a little different in how we hear it. And so when you have technique down, then you can, play it all. Then you can play what you want to play. So what you're hearing in your head. So it's very cool. So keep working with that C major scale. Work with an A minor scale. You can always look it up and go over, try to find the one that's in that pattern that I showed you, and then just start going 1-3-5, 1-3-5. Take those 1-3-5s and find those chords. So, go, okay, I found 1-3-5, so that equals the chord, and then find the chord on that represents it on this sixth string. So what I mean by the sixth string is find the sixth string note that you're starting your 1-3-5 on, and then play the chord, whatever it's going to be, major or minor. It might be that little diminished sound. So yeah, I haven't got into diminished too much, but maybe I'll do an interval talk next time. So I hope that's making some sense for you guys. Always with guitar lessons, there's so much to learn, So you guys take care, okay? Have a good one, and we'll talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.